Will the upsets continue in week 12? Talked about it a couple of weeks ago, how things slowed down in terms of upsets. But as I've always told you guys, it always averages out. If you look at the entire season, when we do these videos, 2 of the 8 games on average turn out to be upsets. So the last 2 weeks, we've had more than 2. But the weeks before that, we only had 1. I think there was 1 week where there was 0. So this was a huge week. We had 4 upsets out of the 8 games that I gave you last week. 4 of them turned out to be upsets. So a lot of upsets. We had Miami losing to Georgia Tech. That was on the video. We had West Virginia upsetting Cincinnati. That was my most likely upset last week, and that one did happen. We had Virginia upsetting Pitt, and also UCLA upsetting Iowa. So those are the 4 upsets, at least from the video. I can't remember if I don't think there was another big upset out there that maybe I didn't mention last week. I don't remember there being another big upset, but yeah, 4 of the 8 games turned out to be upsets last week. The week before that, it was 3, and we missed on the Houston-Kansas State that week. So if we'd gotten that one on there, this would be 2 weeks in a row where we've had 4 pretty big upsets. So it's November. We talked about it, the pressure building, and where will we see the upsets this week? Again, if you're new to this, to be an upset, the spread has to be 4 points or more. And so we're looking for those bigger upsets, and I'm going to give you the 8 games that I think are most likely to be upsets. We're going to go from the least likely to most likely. And again, if the averages play out, maybe because we've had more the last couple of weeks, we get back down to earth this week, and maybe only 2 of them turn out to be upsets. But that is what it usually averages out to be. So let's get into it here. We'll start with our first game. Tennessee, Georgia. All right, so this one, the reason I've got it low on the list is because of Nico's injury. I don't think he's going to play. Could be wrong. I don't think I've heard that definitively anywhere. I don't think anyone said that for sure, but it seems like that's the way it's trending. So without him in there, I think Tennessee has a really, really hard time competing in this game. If he was playing, I would have this game much higher. I think there would be a real shot that Tennessee pulls off the upset. So I wanted to at least mention it because we don't know for sure. The game's at 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Georgia's favored by 10.5 points. So pretty big favorites in this game. And, you got a couple of different things going here. You've got home field advantage going for Georgia. Coming off of a tough loss, they usually bounce back under Kirby Smart. But you got 2 good defenses. So if Tennessee can force some turnovers, which Georgia has definitely struggled with that on the offensive side, they can maybe force a couple of turnovers. If Nico does play, I think he gives them enough offense to potentially pull off the upset here. So I definitely wanted to mention this game, even though if I knew Nico was not playing, I probably wouldn't even have this on the video. I think I was down to this one and then Oregon, Wisconsin. I just don't think Wisconsin's going to pull off that upset, even though I think I did predict that in the preseason. This Wisconsin team has just not been as good as I thought they were going to be this year. Of course, that all starts with Tyler Van Dyke going down with the injury. So that's a game maybe it's not going to be on the video, but maybe that's on your radar. Maybe you think that one could be an upset. I did consider it. Wisconsin, I believe, is a 14-point favorite. Oregon is a 14-point favorite against Wisconsin. All right, let's move on to our next game. Clemson, Pittsburgh. This one's at noon Eastern time on ESPN. Clemson favored by 10. So it's kind of the same story here. It's all about Eli Holstein. Will he play for Pitt? If he plays, they're at home. They've got a real shot to get this win, pull off the upset. If he does not play, I think it's going to be really, really tough. And we've seen a Clemson team that's looked very solid at times and not so good at other times. So I really it's hard to say just how good this Clemson team is. Very inconsistent, at least against quality competition. Pitt has, they were playing really good. The last little bit, it's not been so good for them. Eli Holstein's been knocked out of a couple of games. Again, if he does not play, I don't think they have a shot in this game. If he does play, I think they do have a shot, and we could see an upset here. Last I heard was really there was no information, no lean one way or the other. Given the fact that I believe it's probably concussion related and he's already been knocked out of 2 games, I kind of doubt that he plays, but we'll see. I could be wrong. All right, let's move on now to Virginia, Notre Dame. This one's at 3:30 Eastern time on NBC. Notre Dame favored by 22.5. So I don't really see Notre Dame losing this game, but Virginia's a solid team, and they've showed that this season. What jumped out here to me was just that number, 22.5. That's way too high. I think this game's definitely closer than that. Yeah, pressure starting to build for some of these teams. Notre Dame, is this the best team they've played in a while, maybe. You got Army coming up next week. That's going to be a fun one. I think it's next week. But yeah, Virginia's not bad. And so I think they've got a shot to hang around in this game. Notre Dame has, we've seen it in the past. Like in Northern Illinois, they have let teams hang around. So I think Virginia can definitely play with Notre Dame, at least make this game interesting. Do they pull off the upset? Probably not, but that number just, that seems crazy, 22.5. All right, next we got Arizona State, Kansas State. This one's at 7 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Kansas State favored by 9. Arizona State's a pretty good football team. I think they're really being underrated, or they're just really not being talked about. And I get it. They don't have much of a resume. They haven't beaten any good teams. And I'm not saying they deserve to be ranked, but I do think they're a solid football team. Kansas State hasn't looked as good as of late. So this is going to be very interesting. I think it's a close game. We've seen, again, Kansas State has looked pretty good at times, but they've looked like, this is a team that lost to Houston a couple of weeks ago. So I think this could absolutely be an upset. I think it's one to watch. And again, if this is the win Arizona State needs. If they can get this win, I think that's probably going to put them into the top 25 because that's really what they've been waiting on, is a good win. I can't remember now who they lost to. I think Texas Tech and someone else. They really just haven't played any great teams. So it's a good measuring stick game for them, and I think they are at least capable of hanging around and possibly pulling off the upset. We got Utah, Colorado next. This one's at noon Eastern time on Fox. Colorado's favored by 11.5. Look, I've said this before. No hate here to the Big 12. I just don't think there are any great teams in the Big 12 this year. I think Colorado has a real shot to win this conference. But do I think Colorado could compete with some of the teams in the top 10? It's like SEC and Big 10 teams? Probably not. So, yeah, I think Colorado's a good team, but I don't know that they're, like, way better than Utah. Utah almost beat BYU last week. Controversial ending there. They're still good on defense. They've got a solid defense. They're still solid in the trenches. We'll see if maybe they can win the battle at the line of scrimmage here against Colorado, which is something that they've struggled with in the past. I think this is interesting. I definitely think that we could see an upset here for Utah. They're due for a big win, and they could definitely shake up that Big 12 race if they pull off an upset. All right, we got Texas, Arkansas next. This one's at noon Eastern time on ABC. Texas favored by 13.5. Seems like a pretty big number. Arkansas had been playing pretty good football, and I realize, the last couple of games maybe they haven't looked so good. They were blown out by LSU, blown out by Ole Miss. So you wonder about Arkansas. Maybe they've run out of magic there. Maybe teams have figured them out. I don't know, but they haven't played as well. Texas has been kind of inconsistent this year also. It's a Texas team that really doesn't have any quality wins. This might actually be... Would this be their best win if they beat Arkansas on the road? I'd say probably. You got Vanderbilt right now. I think it's probably their best win. Maybe you could say Florida last week. But they really haven't beaten any great teams. So I don't think Texas has proven that they're an elite team. I think that they are, but I don't think they've really proven that on the field. So maybe they're not. And maybe Arkansas playing at home pulls off the upset here. Remember the last time they played, Arkansas really took it to them. So this should be a fun one. I think it's a close game. Or if it's a close game, I think Arkansas definitely has a shot. I could also see Texas winning big if they get that offense rolling, which when it's rolling, it is tough to stop that Texas offense, but it hasn't always been rolling. So that's going to be the key here. I think if they can score a lot of points, Arkansas not going to be able to keep up. We got Tulane, Navy next. This was at noon Eastern time on ESPN2. Tulane's favored by 7. Navy, I know they've lost a couple of games, but still that triple option attack is tough to defend. Tulane, this might be the best team they've played since earlier in several weeks. So this should be a fun one. I think, it's, I guess, probably, I haven't looked at the standings. This is maybe an elimination game no, because Tulane, I think both their losses were in the non-conference, and Navy, one of their losses was the non-conference. So this is not necessarily an elimination game, but the winner of this game, you feel pretty good about them getting to the American Championship. So I think it's a great game. I think it'll be close. Really could see it going either way. And then finally, LSU, Florida, 3:30 Eastern time on ABC. LSU's only favored by 4.5. They are on the road. They did play terrible against Alabama last week. This is really all about DJ Lagway. If he plays, Florida's got a real shot, really good shot. If he does not play, I don't think they have much of a shot. So, I mean, that's really all of the analysis you need here. Again, if Lagway's in there, Florida absolutely can win this game. In fact, I'd probably pick them to win at home. If he does not play, I think they have no chance. So that's going to be the story here, but it definitely could be an upset. again, if Lagway plays, and I think that would be the most likely upset of the week. If he doesn't play again, I think it's going to be tough. I wouldn't say there's no chance for Florida, but it's definitely going to be tough. I kind of think he's going to play. We'll see. So those are the picks this week. I think those are the teams that are on upset alert, the most likely potential upsets. Which games did I miss? Again, I also talked about Oregon, Wisconsin a little bit. Maybe there's another game out there. Give me your thoughts on who should be on upset alert here in Week 12.